You hear that, people? You hear that, everybody? Whistling, beautiful birds in the background. It is episode 200, Two Chaps, Many Cultures. Welcome, episode 200. This is fantastic. And what have we done to celebrate? We've been traveling. I've been traveling, and now my good partner here is traveling. And let's find out where he is in just a few momentos. Yes, indeed, folks. It is episode 200, Two Chaps, Many Cultures, where too much culture is barely enough. And welcome to the Two Chaps Towers, where I'm situated, but Christian is not. Welcome, sir. How are you? Hola, ¿cómo estás? Is that correct?
Muy bien. ¿Tú? Not at the Two Chaps Towers. I'm at the Two Chaps Bungalow. So that's the side office we recently opened up here.
Oh, yeah. Hang on. Nobody told me about the fact that we had a bungalow. When did that happen?
Well, it's the satellite office.
Okay.
You can come here once in a while too. I'll give you directions how to get here.
Man. Well, welcome, mate. It looks very nice there, and
it is.
And I know that we've been talking in the background, and you did try and arrange a meeting of horses of sorts. You can tell us about that. But I believe their response was nay.
Nay. Exactly. But okay. I mean, since the horses want to show up, maybe we can catch the chickens. I don't know. Where are the chickens at?
Nice.
Somewhere there's chickens.
There we are.
They are. See?
There's some chickens.
Yeah, the horses said. The horses said, nah, not today.
No.
But I've been here since. Oh gosh, the future isn't that bright. I've been here since Saturday, and around our Two Chaps bungalow, which by the way goes by the name of Josefina. So the Two Chaps Josefina. So the Two Chaps bungalow was surrounded by wild horses, 15 of them, and then we observed them a little. And then an hour later, it was 16 because one of the mares gave birth. So life is happening as we speak.
The circle of life is unfolding. But you still haven't told us where you are. So let's see. We've got some water, we've got some ocean, we've got some beautiful trees by the looks of things. Oh, some artwork. You've got to tell us about the artwork. That's very interesting. But where are you in the world?
Well, I am on an island called Vieques. Vieques is also called La Isla Nina, the little sister island to La Isla Grande, which is Puerto Rico. And as many of you probably know, Puerto Rico is a Caribbean island that technically is part of the United States. And then again, somehow it's not, right? So the people of Puerto Rico are citizens of the United States. And they cannot vote for the president. They cannot vote for Congress, the very Congress that governs them. So that's the kind of strange situations that Puerto Ricanos find themselves in. And this territory has been part of the United States ever since the Spanish-American War. Before that, this territory was controlled by the Spaniards and the Spanish colonists. So yeah, it's an interesting mix of U.S. infrastructure or Americanesque infrastructure, and most everybody speaking English, and yet the dominant language amongst the islanders is Spanish and Puerto Riqueño, which is often a very unique type of Spanish influenced by Ingles, and also a little bit influenced by the indigenous language that barely survives. I mean, I don't know how much of it is still left, but the indigenous cultures and their languages, they informed how Spanish was cultivated here. And actually, I learned that some of the words that we use in our day-to-day originated in the indigenous languages of the Taino people. So the word barbacoa, or barbecue, that is a word that the natives gave the Spaniards and the English speakers. Or the word batata was the word that they gave the sweet potato. So batata became potato, right? And I think the word for hammock is also from the Taino language, and the word for hurricane, obviously, since we're in the Caribbean, is also a word that came from the Taino language. So yeah, it's Taino culture is still, I would argue, held on to by the locals, not so much by the Americans who took control of the island.
Yeah. And so the island you're on, even though it's a small and it's off to the west, the east, of the main island of Puerto Rico, yeah. So is it purely a tourist area, or is there commerce on that small island? What is the infrastructure there?
It is a lot of, well, I don't want to say a lot of tourism. There cannot be a lot of tourism here because the island is so small. The island is but 20 miles long and less than 5 miles wide. Okay. So we're talking about a really small plot of land in the middle of the Caribbean Ocean. It's about a 40-minute ferry ride away from the main island, Puerto Rico.
Right.
So yes, there's tourism. However, tourism is limited. Tourism is also very eco-friendly, or as eco-friendly as you can imagine. On an island that needs to tightly monitor its resources, starting from fresh water to the basic necessities, from electricity to gasoline to fresh fruit and vegetables and fresh protein. So there is sustenance farming here, there is fishing, and there is also tourism, yes. I think one of the biggest attractions on this island, what put this island Vieques on the map, is it has the biggest or the brightest bioluminescent bay in the world. And I will be embarking literally on a little bark tomorrow night. So at 8 p.m. when the sun goes down, people go out on their little boats into the bay and let the little creatures in the animal that emit light illuminate life around them. So that's going to be an exciting trip for us.
Wow, fantastic. And of course, no show located or broadcast anywhere in the region you are is complete without Miss Globalicious, Patricia Coleman. Good morning, buenos dias. Wonderful, Patricia. Welcome.
Días, Patricia. ¿Cómo estás?
Yeah. Yeah.
So this island is even though it's touristy, it is very limited in the way people embrace the tourism, because there's not enough space for too many people. And I think it's still a well-kept secret among tourists that want to get into the waters of the Caribbean. A lot of people probably prefer some more well-known, well-developed tourist destinations. There is no concrete bunker towers of Hilton hideousness here. There is no. This is all very, very low key. There's less than 10,000 people living on this island, and if you come here, the hotel or the not just the hotel, everybody will tell you there is no outlet mall, there is no movie theater, there is no attractions with ferry rides or with, I don't know, shooting ranges or whatever it is you prefer to do in your vacation. So if you need action, if you want to have the high life, then you might want to go elsewhere. This is where people go to unplug, which I thought I was going to do. And then we're doing this, right?
So, well, I don't know whether you said the high life. I would actually argue that your experience at the moment is the high life. I mean, we've all been to these kind of resort islands where, you know, there's dolphin kissing and swan dancing and all this kind of stuff, which, you know, you have to go in the groups. And I'm not sure that that's really the experience, but I think being able to do that is fantastic. But Patricia says that what you're about to do is feels like Avatar, and I can just imagine the blue luminescence it would be the water. The water will be a magical color. Yeah, I could imagine that. I could picture that if it's a blue luminescence, similar to what I experienced in Italy. You know, those luminescence. But if it's larger, that's going to be spectacular. Yeah.
From what I've seen so far, it's going to be more white light emitted from these creatures in the water.
Okay.
Fun fact, I mean, we could talk about this all we want, and I have no pictures to prove it yet. So, but fun fact, last night, as I rode in a cab from our dinner place back to where we're staying, we drove down the dark road, and it was a really dark road. There's very little lighting along the road, and whatever streetlights there were, they were in red color. And I was joking to my wife, and said, this must be the red light district. And then we asked the driver, and he said, well, the red light has a purpose, so that we don't create light pollution near the bay. So people go into the bay, so we want to make sure that the light that's coming from the land is not is not negatively affecting the experience of the biobay. So lesson learned, red light could mean something else in different parts of the world.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we are hearing those birds. I don't know what kind of birds they are in the background, but that is beautiful. Just where you are at the moment, they're fantastic. I think, you know what, did you see the birds? Did you know what type of birds they are? I'm not a bird expert, but you know.
Me neither. And we looked it up. It's a blackbird. It's called a Cuban blackbird. I'm sure it has a nativo name that I'm not familiar with. But it's a blackbird. Looks almost like a starbird. It's pitch black and it's cocky. They come up to your table and they will steal the food from plate. Yep.
Yeah. Oh, that's fantastic.
And there's coconut.
Thanks for sharing a new way to travel, protecting nature and protecting it all the way. That is interesting. I mean, having just come back from Poland, where you know, our place there is in an area where there's very, very little light pollution, and the stars are just spectacular. I bet they're pretty good there of a night. Yeah.
I would think so. Plus, this island is, believe it or not, if you look at the island's location on the map, you'll see that it's far east from the U.S. East Coast. So it's east of the Dominican Republic. It's basically a neighbor to the U.S. Virgin Islands, and it is on Eastern time. So it gets dark here fairly early in the day, right? So 7:30, 8, and it's pitch black dark. And I called our home in Atlanta. When it was already dark here, it was still light out in Atlanta. So it's interesting. So because of that time zone oddity, it gets dark fairly early on. And what you can do in the daytime, though, is, because you said, well, what do people do? They farm, and some of them farm fruit and vegetables. There we have it. See? Well,
yeah.
if you move that red pin to the southern side of that island, so it's right now. Your red pin is on Vieques at the ferry port, which is the main pueblo, which is the biggest urban settlement. This is Isabella II, named after the Spanish Queen Isabel II. So that's the biggest area where people live. Currently, right now is on the southern side of that island in Esperanza.
Okay.
Where that you see that green dot? I don't know what it says on your green dot there.
Sunday Beach.
Yeah. So that one bay to the east or to your right, if you move the cursor a little further to the right, that's going to be called Mosquito Bay.
Yeah.
And that's the bioluminescent bay.
Okay.
As you pull up your map to give us an entire view of the island, you will see that green territory to the east of the island, which is protected land. It's now nature preserve. That used to be a bomb testing ground for the U.S. Navy. So the U.S. Navy was here until the early 2000s and blew up bombs in that part of the island. So that's why there's a little bit of a, I would say, a love and hate relationship between the islanders and the gringos, because yes, they built the infrastructure, and of course they invested in the island. It's a U.S. territory, obviously, but then again, it is also used in a way that the locals weren't necessarily fond of. As our driver told us, yeah, they gave us citizenship when they needed us to fight in their war. So citizenship was granted to Puerto Ricans right before World War I. Guess what?
Right.
So there's a lot of this. Yeah, we like to be part of the U.S. because there is money coming here through federal funds or through gringos with money who spend it here, and then there's also this contentious relationship with, well, you're not respecting our culture the way it is, and you keep exploding stuff on our island where there's our horses and our nature and our maybe sacred burial grounds.
Yeah.
So for a long time, the Navy was testing their weapons, and that area to the east of the island is still you can't go everywhere because there's still unexploded, undetonated pieces of equipment there. So it might be dangerous to walk in that. It's basically a landmine area.
Wow. Yeah. Well, that's very interesting. Yes, nothing like a little bit of convenient colonialism to shake up the.
A little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah. Very cool. Well, look.
When you get hungry, you just pluck these from the trees.
Yes. Well, we saw in the image you had a picture you sent me of the they're the mangoes, right? Yeah. Look at that.
Yep. They're not quite ripe yet, but we're gonna get to them in a couple of days.
They look different than the regular mangoes that you buy in the store, but they I don't know. It's interesting. They're a different species, a different variation. They look longer and more elongated. Yeah.
Yeah, they're different species, and you might know them in the store. The yellow ones, the tiny ones, they're called champagne mangoes. I'm not sure if these are the champagne mangoes. These are simply not fully grown. I think they're still. We may have plucked them too soon, but they're getting soft, so it'll be ready to eat soon. And interestingly, you walk the streets here where the horses roam freely, and there is debris on the streets on the side of the street. And at first, you think maybe some horse manure that just got dried up and flattened out and is staining the road. No, it's mango pits, mango seeds, all over the place. All over the place.
It's fascinating. Yeah. And I don't see a lot of palm tree. I mean, the flora there looks quite. It's not what we consider island topography, right? It's flat. There's not a lot of palm trees there, so it's not really. But is it classed as a tropical area in terms of that island where people say it's a tropical?
It is definitely tropical. It's just that the place we're staying at is it almost looks like a horse pasture, and typically the horses would be running around here, which they've done all week. They simply decided not to be on air.
Yeah.
So I think they cleared out some of the palm as you go down to the beach, which is basically, I don't know, 150, 200 yards this way. There's the stereotypical Caribbean palm trees leaning over into the ocean front. And the topography is quite hilly. So you don't see this here because it's probably hidden behind a little bit of a cloud cover.
Yeah.
But behind here, there's some hills. There's actually a hill that they call the Pirate Hill or Pirate Mount, because the island of Vieques was not fully incorporated into Puerto Rico until the mid-1800s. So it was an unincorporated island in between Puerto Rico and the U.S. and the Virgin Islands. And the island of Vieques and some other smaller islands like Culebra, they served as hiding spots for pirate ships. So they hid out here and maybe caught some fish and got some fresh fresh water to refill their tanks on the boats, and then they went back out. It wasn't until the mid-1800s that Vieques was officially annexed by Puerto Rico, and settlement began. And systematic settlement began basically through people who were on the, let's say, lower end of the socioeconomic totem pole, and also by freed slaves, former slaves, that came over here to work on the plantation. So there was sugarcane that was planted here, and cassava root or yucca and sweet potato. So they came over here for, as early settlers always do, for in hopes of a better future. And that's what started the systematic inhabitation of Vieques. Before that, it was a largely uninhabited island.
Mm. A little jewel in the ocean, no doubt.
I would argue so, and I would say it's still. I consider it a well-kept secret of the Caribbean. It may have not been a secret because people watch this and say, "Come on, I've been there a long time ago," and this is an old story. To me, it's a new story here because I didn't know about this island until 3 months ago, because I never paid attention to it, and the tourism, I think, was seriously affected here with Hurricane Maria. Not too long ago, only a couple of years ago, and Maria hit Vieques first before it hit the main island of Puerto Rico. Now there's not a lot of high structures here. There's not a lot of big edifices that could break in a storm like that. The material damage was bigger in Puerto Rico, but the people here on the island got the brunt of it, and it hurt tourism quite a bit, and I think it still is in recovery mode, which makes it even more attractive to travelers like my wife and I, because we can walk the beach and I walked the beach all afternoon yesterday and I counted less than 5 people.
Wow. That's, well, good. It's good, but obviously they need the support and the resources that respectful tourists bring to an area like that. And you and I think we have the same mindset when we go there. We try and be respectful, and you're diving into the culture, right? You're learning about culture and the background, historical aspects of the island. So we would encourage. It seems like a great place. Maybe we need to put it on the first global conference of Two Chaps, Many Cultures. Maybe we need to consider it as.
Oh, I'm already planning a retreat here. This is going to be great. Plus, a lot of people don't know this, that this part of the Caribbean was the second stop, or the second time the Spaniards arrived here. When Columbus came, he first landed on the big island next to Puerto Rico on Hispaniola, which is now home to the Dominican Republic and Haiti. So that's the first America's land that Columbus found. And the second stop they made in 1493 was here in Puerto Rico. So the original exposure to Europeans in the Americas happened here.
Mm.
So this is the connecting spot.
I did mention you talked about the artwork yesterday, so you got to tell us about this connection to the artwork, which is very, very fascinating.
Well, I think it's some sort of weird coincidence, right? So you see this picture here. A lot of artwork around here has horses as images, which is not surprising given that there are so many horses on the island. And my wife and I, since we're both German, we were immediately drawn to this picture. Like, whoa, this is like a picture from an art movement in the early 1900s called the Blue Rider Group, consisting of artists like Wassily Kandinsky, Gabriele Münter, Franz Marc. It was basically and art historians will butcher me for probably saying it wrong. I think they were what were they called? They were called an existentialist group. I don't remember exactly. They were a short-lived period of art creation before World War I, and they reached international fame because of their unique painting style. And this seems to be a replica of a Blue Rider. Blue Rider because many of their motifs were horses painted with blue color. And we go into our bungalow, and guess what's greeting us here? An image with blue horses.
Okay.
Can't make this stuff up.
I know that. Yeah, we go to these places, and I guess these people who build these things decorate them with whatever artwork that might look good to them. But it's always good to kind of be cognizant of what's around you, right? And just if you just ask a story, here it is. Brigitte, there's somebody you might know in the background. Expressionism. That might be it.
Thank you, honey. But what you do want to know about this place is, because you mentioned it, so you want to dive into what the locality has to offer. What it does have to offer is excellent cuisine. So I'm going to put on my my shaky hand and my Anthony Bourdain hat for a second here. Wherever you go in the world, make sure you don't go to the restaurants which labels you're familiar with. Go into the hole in the wall that looks a little, where you ask yourself, can I trust this or can I not? Chances are that's where you want to go. You come here, you got to try mofongo. Mofongo is a staple here. You got to try the tostones. A lot of the food here is based on plantains, plátanos, and also yuca, which is the cassava root, and also breadfruit. So they make this starchy accompaniment to the protein, which is called mofongo. Lots of garlic in it, a little bit of sauteed onions, and I don't know what secret spices. Dang it. It is good. It is good. I can tell you, it is good.
Cares? And all right, that's enough of that. Hello from the pool and the beach around the corner. That's enough of that. There's enough of that.
Well, that means we need to wrap this episode up, because I need to go to the pool and the beach around the corner.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Well, man, thank you. Thank you so much for sharing a little bit of your vacation. Thank you, Brigitte, for giving us the background color, what we call color commentary in the know, color commentary in the background. And thank you, Patricia, for joining. And yeah, I mean, have a great time, man. It looks great. How much longer are you there for?
We'll come back on the 4th of July. So in the background, this way, this is where that blue spot is. That's the ocean.
That's the blue spot. That's a place to be, the blue spot. Very cool. All right, man. Well,
which means I have to put these back on. I have to put these back on, because now I'm going back into the.
Absolutely. All right, man. Have a great afternoon, and that is Two Chaps Many Cultures, episode 200. We're in the 200s. Another 100 episodes to go before we get to 300. That's just around the corner, really. So.
Yeah.
Enjoy, sir. And we are Two Chaps Many Cultures, out from the Two Chaps Many Cultures bungalow and the Two Chaps Many Cultures tower. We will see you next episode. Bye-bye.
Bye.